Hello everyone, welcome back to another time house video. Today we focus on the chain rule. Alright, so for the chain rule, we need to know a couple things. And one of them is to know how to derive. And so just a refresher, the derivative of any function is equal to, if it is its exponent, for example, like x to whatever power, the derivative of that function, if this is going to be y equals this, then the derivative is going to be equal to x n minus 1 times n. Alright, so that's just a real refresher on derivatives, and I'll be working on chain rule. So let's have an example. So assuming that you're proficient on derivatives, let's say we have a function, let's change the color, y is equal to the cube root of sine squared 3. You know, let's let this 3 better. 3x. So how we solve this is, first we want to make everything exponential. We don't want any other exponents, so let's rewrite this. So when we have a cube root, we say, let's put this function here. And there's another thing I want to address. This is going to be 1/3. And another thing I want to address is, when you see sine squared of 3x, that means, here, let's have a note here. This means sine 3x squared. Now I know we can simplify this, but just so that we have practice, let's just solve this just like an extra step. So now let's think of this differently. Let's say that sine squared of 3x, let's say w, giant W, sine squared of 3x, right? And so now we can replace this, so y is equal to big giant W of 1/3. And so now when we derive this using our rule here of just basic derivatives, this is not chain rule, this is the definition of derivatives, we can say that dy, oops, not dy, dx of y is equal to 1/3 w, right, n, so 1/3 minus 1 is negative 2/3. Right, so then we can just keep going. We can simplify this and replace w, so y prime, and y prime is just the derivative, y prime is equal to 1/3 sine squared 3x of negative 2/3. And so that is the outer layer, but we're not done. See, if you graph this, this will not be the derivative. So we need to add things to this. So now let's say that this is going to be our function. Let's say a new function, g of x. Here, let's change the color. G of x of x is equal to sine squared x, 3x. Right, just this part here. And we want to take the derivative. So the derivative of g of x is equal to, well, first, before we go ahead of this, we want to solve this. The reason why I'm making this into parts is now we're going to multiply the derivative by this function. So let's write this as, over here, when we had a note, that this is the new way of sine squared 3x. So let's rewrite this. Sine of 3x squared. And so we'll have to use another chain rule. And so let's say that, let's make this a big U. So sine of 3x is a giant U. Let's change the color. So giant U is going to be equal to sine of 3x. And so that means that g of x is equal to u squared. So g of x is equal to u squared. G prime of x is equal to 2u. Big U. Which is equal to, when you plug u back in, 2 times sine of 3x. And you might be noticing a pattern here, that we are deriving the outermost side first. Assuming that this is one giant variable, we are deriving the outside. And so you can keep going on with this, but this video would be too long. I just want to have a shortcut. So now let's multiply by the derivative. Where's our giant derivative here? So this is y prime, so we are going to continue on our search to find y prime. So now we have to multiply what we have here. So this is the derivative. So now we multiply by 2 sine 3x. Alright, and so that's not done, because now we can still derive sine of 3x. So the original problem was this. So we derived the outside, and we got sine squared 3x. We derived sine squared 3x. We derived this. Now we need to derive sine of 3x. Alright, so let's make h prime of x. I know it's a big long list, but for simplicity, h prime of x, h of x equals sine of 3x. Now, this is a rule of trigonometry, and which you'll learn in the future, but just for simplicity's sake, I will teach you about the derivatives of trigonometry, but just take my word for it. H prime of x, let's say this is just sine of x, right? But sine of 3x would be cosine of 3x. And this is just a rule that you have to memorize. Just take my word for it. There will be another video concerning this. So we need to multiply the big solution by cosine of 3 of x. Let's have a different. Times cosine 3 of x. And there's one more that we need to do. I know, I'm all over the place. The last one we need to do is of 3x, and that is going to be 3. So we need to multiply by the derivative of 3x equal to 3. So far, let's recap on what we did. Let me close this rectangle here. And we can simplify this huge derivative. So what we did was, we first step, make things exponents. Second step, we derived the outermost part and left the innermost part the same. So first we derived the outermost part using w just to make this visually aesthetic. We multiply by what we got, the derivative, and then we took the derivative of the inside and wrote it down, took the derivative of that inside, wrote it down, and took the derivative of that inside and wrote it down. So there is no more functions. We took the derivative of all the functions. 3 is not a function, so that is our answer. And I hope that's helpful.